The sun rises over Pretoria, casting a warm golden light on the grand government building. The square is bustling with citizens, dignitaries, and veterans, all dressed in their finest attire. The South African flag flutters proudly in the breeze, symbolizing hope and resilience. As the national anthem begins to play, the crowd falls into a respectful silence, anticipation hanging in the air. In the midst of the crowd stands Zola Mandela, 22, the great-granddaughter of Nelson Mandela. With striking features and a determined gaze, she wears traditional attire that reflects her cultural heritage. As the anthem swells, everyone around her rises to their feet, but Zola remains seated, her back straight and her eyes fixed ahead. This bold decision immediately draws attention. Gasps ripple through the crowd, and whispers of confusion and disbelief spread like wildfire. Some attendees look on with admiration, while others frown in disapproval. A woman nearby leans toward her companion, muttering, "How can she do this?" The camera captures the perplexed expression of a government official, while murmurs of discontent grow louder. The camera zooms in on Zola, highlighting her striking features, a blend of her great-grandfather's legacy and her own individuality. Her hair is meticulously braided, and her vibrant attire speaks volumes of her pride in her heritage. As the anthem continues, Zola's internal monologue unfolds. Quick flashbacks show pivotal moments from Nelson Mandela's life, the marches, speeches, and celebrations of his release. Zola reflects, "My great-grandfather dreamed of a country where everyone was equal, but the struggle isn't over. I cannot stand for a system that still fails so many." The focus shifts back to the ceremony, where tension mounts. The governor makes an effort to maintain poise, but his discomfort is evident as he scans the crowd, realizing the implications of Zola's refusal to stand. As the anthem concludes, a heavy silence envelopes the square. All eyes are now on Zola, and the atmosphere shifts dramatically. Some in the crowd begin to applaud her courage, while others murmur disapproval. The camera captures the mixed expressions, reflecting the divided sentiment among those present. A reporter zooms in on Zola, ready to capture her reaction. She holds her head high, unwavering in the face of scrutiny. In the background, shouts of support emerge, blending with cries of discontent. "She's brave, and this is disrespectful," echo amidst the crowd. Media outlets scramble to capture the unfolding scene, journalists jotting down notes furiously. Images of Zola are broadcast live, and commentators engage in heated discussions about the significance of her actions. The nation begins to polarize, with debates intensifying over the balance between tradition and the need for change. Zola, standing apart from the chaos, feels the palpable tension around her. She knows she is not merely challenging a protocol. She is raising critical questions about justice, representation, and the true essence of freedom. Her decision transcends a single act. It becomes a powerful call for a more equitable future. The news of Zola's refusal spreads rapidly across social media and television networks. News anchors, with furrowed brows, discuss the implications of her actions. The screen splits between various pundits, each representing different viewpoints. Some hail Zola as a symbol of courage, while others condemn her as disrespectful. The camera captures clips of live reactions from citizens across the nation. In one scene, a group of young activists cheers Zola's name in a crowded cafe, holding up signs that read courage over conformity. In contrast, another clip shows an elderly couple shaking their heads in disappointment, muttering about the importance of tradition. As the frenzy intensifies, hashtags related to Zola trend worldwide. News outlets report on the growing divide in public opinion. Commentators argue passionately. Is she a hero or a traitor? The atmosphere is charged, with social media becoming a battleground for differing ideologies. Zola's actions spark discussions about freedom of expression versus respect for national symbols. Back in Pretoria, Zola watches the coverage from her home, a mixture of pride and anxiety swelling in her chest. She sees her face on screens, surrounded by a whirlwind of opinions. "This is bigger than me," she thinks, feeling the weight of her family's legacy resting on her shoulders. In a quiet moment, Zola sits in her room, surrounded by family photos, each telling a story of struggle and resilience. She picks up a framed image of her great-grandfather, Nelson Mandela, and runs her fingers over the glass. Flashbacks illuminate her memories of his teachings, his unwavering commitment to justice and equality. Zola recalls a childhood moment when Mandela told her, "Never be afraid to stand for what is right, even when it costs you." His voice echoes in her mind, fueling her conviction. She reflects on the ongoing inequalities in South Africa, the promises made during the transition to democracy that remain unfulfilled. As she gazes out of the window, Zola sees a group of children playing in the street, their laughter contrasting sharply with the harsh realities many face. "I can't just sit back and watch," she thinks resolutely. "I have to honor his legacy by speaking out." This moment of introspection solidifies her resolve. She knows her refusal to stand was not just a personal statement. It was a call to action for her generation to confront the injustices that persist. Zola returns home after a day of media coverage and public scrutiny. The atmosphere is tense as her family gathers around the dining table. Her mother, visibly worried, speaks first, her voice quivering slightly. "Zola, you need to understand the consequences of what you did. People are angry. You could face backlash." Zola listens intently, but her expression remains steadfast. "I did this for a reason, Mom. It's not just about me. It's about everyone who feels voiceless." Her mother's brow furrows in concern, trying to balance her protective instincts with understanding her daughter's passion. Her father, a former activist himself, speaks up. "I admire your courage, but you must be prepared for what comes next. This is more than just a moment, it's a movement." Zola nods, acknowledging the weight of her actions. The conversation intensifies, with her family expressing fears about potential repercussions. "What if this affects your future? Your education?" her mother pleads. Zola responds, "I can't turn my back on what's happening. This is what my great-grandfather fought for: real change." As the discussion unfolds, Zola remains resolute, her passion igniting a fire within her family as they begin to understand the importance of her stand. They realize that her actions could inspire others, even if it means facing adversity together. The scene closes with Zola looking out into the night, her determination unwavering. The nation is in turmoil. News outlets are buzzing with coverage of Zola Mandela's refusal to stand during the state ceremony. Citizens gather in parks, homes, and community centers, engaged in passionate discussions. The camera pans over various groups, some holding signs in support of Zola, while others protest against her actions. Television screens flash images of Zola's defiance, with headlines reading "A New Voice for Justice" and "Disrespect or Courage." Pundits debate vigorously on air, their voices rising as they grapple with the implications of her actions. One commentator argues, "Zola's refusal is a powerful statement about the ongoing inequalities in our nation," while another counters, "This is about respecting our traditions. She should have stood." Social media explodes with reactions. Hashtags like #JusticeForZola and #TraditionMatters trend nationwide. Zola supporters share stories of personal struggles and injustices, while critics accuse her of undermining national unity. The camera captures snippets of heated exchanges online, with many expressing their feelings through memes and posts that reflect their polarized views. Amidst the chaos, Zola watches from her home, her eyes glued to the screen. The noise of the debate surrounds her, but she remains focused. She recognizes that her actions have ignited a much-needed conversation about the nation's values and the legacy of her great-grandfather. A close-up shows her determination as she prepares to speak out. Zola is summoned to meet with government officials and community leaders in a formal conference room. The atmosphere is tense as she enters, greeted by a mix of skepticism and curiosity. The room is filled with a diverse group of leaders, their expressions ranging from supportive to critical. Zola takes a deep breath, her heart racing, but she stands tall. The leading official, a seasoned politician, begins the meeting, addressing the recent events with a measured tone. "Zola, Your actions have stirred quite a reaction. We need to understand your reasoning." Zola nods, ready to articulate her stance. "I did not refuse to stand out of disrespect," she begins passionately. "I stood to honor the memory of my great-grandfather and the countless lives still affected by inequality. We cannot ignore the struggles that persist in our society." As she speaks, the camera captures the varied reactions in the room, some nodding in agreement, others crossing their arms defensively. Zola continues, her voice steady. "If we are to move forward as a nation, we must confront the uncomfortable truths about our past and present." One of the older leaders interjects, "But what about the traditions that unite us? Shouldn't we uphold those?" Zola responds earnestly, "Traditions must evolve. If they exclude voices that matter, they become tools of oppression rather than unity." The discussion deepens, with leaders exchanging views on the importance of representation and acknowledgement of past injustices. Zola's eloquence begins to sway some in the room, and a few leaders express a desire to explore how to address these issues collectively. As the meeting progresses, the camera shifts to Zola's expression, determined yet hopeful. She knows that this moment could be pivotal, not just for her, but for the future of her country. The scene ends with a sense of possibility in the air, as Zola continues to advocate for change, her voice resonating with the weight of history. The scene opens in a large press conference room filled with reporters, cameras, and flashing lights. Zola stands at a podium, her expression a mix of determination and vulnerability. The air is thick with anticipation as the public waits for her to address the nation once again. As she scans the sea of faces, Zola takes a deep breath, feeling the weight of her family's legacy on her shoulders. "Thank you for being here," she begins, her voice steady but emotional. "I stand before you not just as Nelson Mandela's great-granddaughter, but as a young South African who believes in the promise of our nation." Zola speaks passionately about her refusal to stand during the anthem, explaining that it was not an act of disrespect, but rather a protest against the ongoing inequalities that still plague the country. "We celebrate freedom, but for many, that freedom is still a distant dream," she declares, her voice rising with conviction. As she shares personal stories about her family's struggles and the sacrifices made for justice, the room falls silent, with even the most skeptical reporters leaning in to listen. Zola passionately articulates her hope for a future where every South African feels truly represented and honored. She concludes with a powerful call to action. "It is time for us to confront our past and ensure that the voices of those who fought for our freedom are not forgotten. I refuse to be silent any longer." The audience erupts into applause, and Zola steps back from the podium, a mixture of relief and empowerment washing over her. As Zola leaves the press conference, she is met with a wave of supporters outside the venue. Young people, inspired by her bravery, chant her name and hold up banners demanding justice and equality. The energy is electric, and Zola feels a sense of purpose swell within her. The scene transitions to various locations around South Africa, showing rallies and gatherings where Zola's message resonates. Activists hold discussions in community centers, and schools organize events promoting awareness about social justice issues. Zola's refusal to stand has ignited a movement among the youth, encouraging them to speak out on issues that matter. In a montage, Zola is seen engaging with diverse groups, students, families, and community leaders, sharing her story and listening to theirs. Each interaction strengthens her resolve and reinforces the idea that change is possible when voices unite. Back at home, Zola reflects on the impact of her actions. Sitting with her family, they watch news coverage of the growing movement. Her mother, once fearful, now beams with pride as she sees her daughter leading the charge for change. "You've started something bigger than any of us imagined," she says, her voice filled with admiration. As the sun sets, Zola stands on a stage in front of a large crowd, her heart racing with anticipation. She raises her hands, and the crowd quiets, eager to hear her words. "This is just the beginning," she proclaims, her voice strong. "Together, we will ensure that no one is left behind. It's time for all of us to stand up for what is right." The scene ends with a wide shot of the crowd, united and energized, as they chant in unison. Zola smiles, knowing that her actions have sparked a crucial conversation about justice and equality, and that the legacy of her great-grandfather lives on through her commitment to making a difference.